The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
This is the Inferno Podcast. It's the official podcast of UAB Athletics. Blazer fans, this is the place every week for an inside look into UAB Athletics. This episode is brought to you by Pearl River Resort.
Welcome back to the Inferno Podcast, your official podcast of UAB Athletics. I'm Madison Page, and it's Season 3, Episode 4, brought to you by Pearl River Resorts. Today's episode rundown is going to be brought to you by Legacy Credit Union, the official credit union of UAB Athletics. We're joined today with our coach's corner of Kurt Thomas, head track coach, and assistant coach and cross-country coach, Travis Pope. Men's basketball is looking to get their first conference win at home, while football is looking to announce a new staff member. Baseball takes on number 13 Florida at Florida in less than 3 weeks, and not far in front of them is going to be softball, where they take on Southern Miss Tournament in less than 2 weeks. Be sure to follow us on our socials on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and be sure to stay tuned for more in the Inferno Podcast. Now, don't go far because we'll be right back with our Coach's Corner. Welcome back to the Inferno Podcast, the official podcast of UAB Athletics. Today we are joined by the Coach's Corner. We have head coach Kurt Thomas and assistant coach Travis Pope. Coaches, how are you guys?
We're warmer in here than we would be if we were outside. It's cold today.
It's a little chilly outside, not too much of outdoor track weather, but we're in our indoor season right now.
That's correct, yes.
So I want to go back to when you guys first started coaching. You've been in the business for a long time. What keeps you coming back to UAB constantly? Because you're going into your 19th season now.
I am, yeah. You believe in an institution, but at the same time, you like being able to recruit kids that you think have potential and try to just get them to be as good as they can possibly be. And that never really goes away. I don't think, it doesn't matter what the sport is. I think you just, have a passion for your sport and working with athletes and trying to get them to succeed and achieve and stuff like that. And so, that never goes away.
Yeah. Coach Travis, what made you choose UAB? You're going into your third season now.
Yeah. From my last place is a heck of a lot closer than from where I was to being home. But really, Coach Thomas' vision, where we're trying to get, the fact that jumped into a new conference, arguably probably the best conference outside the Power Four, and just looked like a good challenge to try to take on.
Yeah. When you guys are talking to your coaches, not your coaches, when you're talking to your players and you're going into that first practice, what are you guys saying to them and honing your vision into them?
I think, I'm sure a lot of sports feel this way, but track and field, I think, is maybe even deeper. Like it has to be process oriented. In the summer, they're logging 50 miles a week. It's hot. It's hard to see the championship season in October, and same thing for our sprinters and jumpers and everyone else that, our championship season's in February and in May, and in August and September, whenever we're doing things that don't look like track and field and we're just trying to get fit and stronger. Mm-hmm. You just got to trust the process, and within, a couple weeks, it starts to feel like track and sprinting and jumping and hurdling and running cross country and all those things. And so you just have to be process oriented and really you have to have that internal motivation. If you're not internally motivated every day to show up and just try to get better every single day, it's going to be tough. And so we just try to remind them of that. Obviously, if you can stack a few workouts and show them results, Travis is really good at data. And so he can sit there and show them, this is what you did last year, this is what you did today. And that really helps keep them going on those tough weeks whenever it's hot and it doesn't seem like there's much of a break.
Yeah. How do you continue to keep that buy-in, Coach Travis, to your players?
Yeah, like I said, it's work on that process, but again, the data's been a big help. They see the progress, whether it's lactate testing or just or even just workouts from month to month to years, and then even from the previous coaching stops I've been, I've got data on them, so I can show them look, this is what this athlete's done. You've done the exact same thing. this is what they did in a race, so you're capable of doing the exact same thing. So like you said, it's a two-step process. I think the focus on the process, but then when it actually comes down to the meet day, it's we're here to compete. And so the one thing I've kind of addressed to them is we're not here to participate in Division I athletics. We're here to compete in Division I athletics, and I think they've done a really, really good job of kind of moving in that direction to where we're really seeing the results of that now.
Yeah, so you're saying that you continue to compete and buy in. How have you seen this program grow throughout the time that you've been here?
Well, I've been here a very long time, so I've seen, a lot of growth, but, a lot of ups and downs too, moving into a new conference, even Conference USA, whenever we used to be in that conference, but like teams change, and so we had to adapt as well. We've had a lot of really good student athletes and had some good teams over the years, and we've had teams that we've had to rebuild from scratch. And so, I think the biggest thing is the challenges from, conference to conference. Like, college athletics keeps evolving, and so we have to kind of keep evolving with it. The way a lot of the Power 4 schools, but also like mid-major schools like us, the way we recruit and the way you have to try to find athletes is different than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we're having to kind of find our niche in doing those same things to try to keep up and just continue to be successful. And so I think that's where the growth is really seen. You're going to have good years, you're going to have bad years. Every team goes through it, but at the same time, like, to continue to try to have as much success as possible, you have to try to keep up with it, the way the landscape of college athletics is, and so that's what we're doing right now.
What are you continuing to tell your athletes when they're not seeing the production that they want to see on the track? What do you continue to tell them in order to get that motivation going for them?
I think you try to stay positive. Sometimes there's very distinct reasons on why they didn't do well. I think sometimes in distance races, they're long enough that you can say, like, you didn't move with the group, the front group, whenever you were supposed to. So there's tactics involved. And so you can say, like, well, you didn't run well because of this. Sometimes they're coming off of, being sick, all kinds of different things. So you try to, keep it realistic, but also try to be positive. And then honestly, like, we try to give them ownership. Like, we're not the ones racing. They're the ones racing, jumping, throwing, all those things. So at some point, they have to kind of show up and perform. So if they feel good that day, if they're focused that day, let's just go and have a good day. But then it's up to them to go out there and perform. Some of the other things, we can always try to keep in perspective, because, not every volleyball match is going to go perfect. Not every other sport is going to go great. But, so you just try to keep positive. But at the same time, like, you try to put the ball in their hands, so to speak. And, like, you're the one racing. Let's try to win our heat. Let's try to, do these things, execute things properly. And usually when those things happen and they listen to coach a little bit, usually good things happen.
Coach Travis, you had a really good season when you were at LSU. How do you continue to put that into your athletes? Like, yeah, I won the championships, I did everything that I needed to do. How do you continue to implement that into them?
Yeah, I mean, well, the nice thing is you just have the examples to go off of. I've been lucky enough to have some great mentors and to coach some good athletes in the past, and again, showing that, look, this is what we did, and this is, we changed things a little bit with the type of athletes we have, and but I think it helps that they know that success I've had in the past, and are willing to kind of buy into the changes, and clearly I think we're moving in a good direction with that, with our places at the championships for cross country the last couple of years, but. Luckily, again, really most of the credit just goes to the girls. It wasn't too much of an issue having to change that buy-in. The younger girls really just kind of, I don't know, they just bought in immediately and have helped the younger ones do the same. And, we're at a point now where I feel like the whole team is in a really good spot, and it makes my job pretty easy. I'm not really having to do too much, because I think they're seeing the success, and they know that, look, if you want to do the same thing, you just got, again, like KT said at the beginning, you just got to trust the process, because it is a long season. Again, you could have those setbacks. I do think we're in a nice position, or a unique position with our sport, where if you're injured in a volleyball season, that might be your whole season. Nice thing about cross country, or at least distance running, is you have 3 seasons in a year. So if you're out for one season, you've got another season coming up in about 3 months. So that helps too. Again, I really just most credit goes to the girls. I mean, as much as coaches, we want that blind buy-in. Sometimes it doesn't always go that way. I think I've been fortunate enough that after the first couple months of just kind of adjustment of training, they've kind of really bought into that. And so, again, just credit goes to them. It's not much I've had to do, really.
There's a lot of development that goes into track, and it's not a big team sport when it comes to looking on the outside looking in. You don't see a lot of them working together. It's a lot of individuality.
Mm-hmm.
How do you build a team within a track?
You're right, and that can make it challenging at times. I mean, and every track team is like this, but, we practice at very separate times of the day. Rarely is the entire team in one place at one time, which can pose challenges. I think we try to do little team activities and events, just to try to keep everyone around each other a little bit more. It definitely helps. I know sometimes the distance crew is out in the morning when the throwers and the sprint crew is out there, and that's helpful when you see your teammates around working out, working hard and sweating just like you are. But whenever really, then the challenge is like whether it's a team meeting or before or after a track meet, trying to recognize the accomplishments of that meet, because again, it's like a 3-ring circus. Track meets are like a 3-ring circus. The throwers could be having a good day and the triple jumpers could be having a good day, but they don't see each other. They're on opposite ends of the arena at the same time. And so just trying to let everyone know, like, hey, here, you did this, she did that, and let everyone kind of celebrate some of those accomplishments. And that's when you have an opportunity to try to say some inspiring words or just try to, show that the team is making good progress and stuff like that, because we don't get to have like a team meeting every day. We don't really have that locker room environment necessarily, and so you have to kind of take advantage of it whenever you get an opportunity.
Yeah, and in cross country, I feel like it's even more individualized because you guys are all you're running separately, you're running towards one common goal, but then you have a lot of longer distance. How do you keep those players locked in and continuing to compete for each other?
Yeah, cross country and track to an extent, like I like to say, it's an individual sport that happens to be team scored. Mm-hmm. And so it's a little weird. I still see it as a team sport in itself, but just the way it's scored and how you run it. Again, especially in track, you might be in different heats. You run the same event, but you're not even in the same race together. And cross country, you may be in the same race, but you may have someone that's 30 seconds behind you, a minute behind you, and you're all trying to again run together to get a good team place. But I think the big quote I've used this year is the Bill Belichick, Nick Saban quote. Do your job, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do. Like we have a job, we know what we're capable of, we know what we've been working for, and if we all take care of our job, that team result will be there for us waiting at the end. Because at the end of the day, that team result or that time we're trying to get after, or that number we're trying to hit for our scoring it's an after effect of what we do in a race. And so again, it's just teaching them to compete well, and to if it doesn't go well, we learn from the mistakes and fix it for the next race. But if we do our job and progress appropriately, we know that our job will get done at the end and the result will be there.
Yeah. When it comes to recruiting, what kind of girls are you looking to recruit?
Talented ones. But honestly, like I think just some other characteristics is competitiveness.
Yeah.
It's easy in high school when you're already one of the best in your area, but you kind of want people that are just like really competitive. I think that's something that I think the distance athletes have kind of learned from him. He's crazy competitive, and I think that's what made him a good runner whenever he was at LSU. And so the athletes quickly picked up on that. They're like, oh, he's like really competitive. Mm-hmm. Not that our other coaches weren't before him, but it's very evident. And so you just want people to go out there that are really competitive. Sometimes, the internal motivation, whether they're just high achievers, they won't let themselves fail. Those are kind of hard things to see in high school athletes, but if you can kind of find something like that, people that just hold themselves to a high standard and are, like I said, are just really competitive. They're just always trying to win. Sometimes it's been helpful in certain events to have athletes that had played other sports. There's a big correlation on former soccer players and them being successful in college track and field in different events, not just distance events or sprint events or whatever. And partly because they're really competitive. In soccer, they're having to battle it out over a ball constantly. And so you see some of that competitiveness kind of come out, even if they're not having the best race or whatever the case may be. And so that's really kind of what we want to see, people that are yes, they want to win, but they just refuse to lose. And sometimes that'll be good enough to take the talent that they have, and hopefully they can learn all the different things that we're trying to teach them with technical events and things like that. But at the end of the day, you just got to be competitive. If we're trying to long jump, I'm trying to beat the other people around me, and you want athletes to kind of take that on a little bit and just go out there and just compete.
I feel like when it comes to competitiveness, you have to be both selfish and selfless. When it comes to your sport, how do you balance the two from being a coach and also being an athlete? How did you learn to balance the two of being selfish and selfless?
I'll let you answer that first. That's a tough question.
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, I from my own personal experience, I probably lean a little more on the selfish side. I think, ultimately, again, kind of go back, you got a job to do, and so you need to make sure that you take care of that job. And in turn, I think that is maybe, at least in our sport, a little, again, it's helping the team out because you're taking care of your job. I mean, if you're not ready to go, then you're letting your team down. So I think it goes hand in hand. But ultimately, we make sacrifices. I may have some athletes that, are maybe a little further ahead, but we pull back in workouts so that we can kind of run with the group. Mostly, especially with some of my athletes, a lot of it is holding them back. Because the nice thing is they are aggressive, which is great. But there's also, we're also not trying to crank out and hammer every workout we have. That can lead, spiral into a wrong direction. So kind of helping their teammates out, we'll have some, especially if it's maybe a little more of a low-key meet, we might take some of our better talented runners and they're going to pace the other girls. And it becomes kind of a workout for them. And they're always ready for the opportunity to kind of help their teammates out. Again, I'm fortunate enough that, when I inherited this group, they were all very good teammates. We had a couple things we had to change, but from, probably the selfish side, that they crushed it. I almost needed them to become a little more selfish, but I think now we've got a pretty good balance of it.
What do you tell your athletes that aren't getting the production that they want? If they had a bad meet, they had a bad run, what are you telling those athletes in order to continue to get them motivated?
Yeah, I think you have to, like I said before, I think you have to stay positive and try to help them understand what happened. Was it just a bad meet? Those things happen. Are they coming off an injury? They have an expectation that I'm just, no matter what, I'm going to set a big PR. But if they're coming off an injury, as a coach, I may be thinking about executing technical aspects of the event rather than just trying to jump as far as humanly possible, because you still got to execute things in order to jump far. And so you try to, depending on their situation, if they're coming off an injury or at the first meet of the year, a lot of jump events, we may go from a shorter run approach rather than a full run approach because we're still kind of working on those things early in the season. So you try to talk to them about some of those things early on. If there's certain paces at their first, if a young lady has never run a 600, he may tell her, you probably wouldn't say this, but let's go out conservative and run it a different way. And so you try to coach them ahead of time for the expectations. But if they just have a bad day or maybe things just go wrong, try to understand kind of what happened, learn from it. And then you got to get up the next day and go back to the drawing board. Just like all of us, we have to get up and go to work the next day, no matter what. And so you try to have that mindset to kind of move on. Just like if you have a bad match, like you have to get up and be ready to play the next time as well. And so they have a little bit of resiliency, get back to training, let's try to fix it next time. So
you brought in Mooney Lee, who her accolades, we could sit here and talk about them all day. How does having somebody with such a great background, how does that kind of continue to build these athletes and show them like this is one of the greatest to ever do it, and now she's here teaching you? What does that mean to bring her in? So
Moon is a great addition. I think she's also such a humble person that everyone can read what she's done. The athletes read what she's accomplished. I think because she's so humble, it's easy to sometimes forget. And so it'd be nice if she was a little more boastful about what she's done and be like, do it like I did.
So you get a championship.
Yeah, exactly. Just because she was so successful and worked so hard and worked under so many great coaches. Her and I, one of her coaches was one of my mentors, and so we share a lot of the same training philosophies and stuff like that. Both Travis and her went to LSU, so a lot of the same coaches are still there, so we share a lot of things. And so I think, initially it was really neat for the athletes, but again, she's so humble. She probably needs to use her accomplishments a little bit more, just to make sure that everyone's really listening. Like, look, you need to. There was a young lady who's having some asthma issues, and Muna has some technique using balloons to help regulate her breathing, before races, after races, or something like that. I've never heard of that, but she got it from somewhere, and it helped her, in her career. And so, it's little things like that this year the athletes have really bought into her, even more so, and it's just starting to pay off. I think, any coach, you have to have buy-in, and so sometimes that takes work on both sides, from the athlete and the coach. But they bought into her this year, and they're starting to run a lot better because of it.
Travis, was there a point in your career to which you got to the point where you didn't want to keep going? You thought that this was it, and I don't want to push through. How did you come out of that moment?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, every race is tough. I mean, I think really, again, it's just becoming goal-oriented. I mean, I had some pretty lofty goals when I was running in college, and still do as a coach. And I think the biggest thing is just I'm never really satisfied. So that's probably what's always kind of kept me going. I can be happy with the accomplishments, but I know there's always a bigger one out there. Yeah. And like you said, I'm probably overly competitive, probably too much sometimes. But ultimately, I know that's going to get me and a team or whoever we're trying to coach, to where they want to be. And so, yeah, it's tough sometimes. I mean, we all have those questions of, can I keep going? Can I keep doing this? But I think ultimately, the one thing we kind of learn is we're always capable of doing that and capable of giving a little bit more. And so it's finding those limits in a healthy way, but finding those limits and kind of keep pushing them. So,
where do you guys see this program at the end of the season in the next 5 years? Where are you guys seeing this program and the growth that comes from it?
So honestly, our goal is to be, top half of the conference, which is very difficult. That doesn't sound like anything special, but you can look at teams that are 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, 8th, and 9th in our league, and they're having fantastic track meets. And so, we've been there before in the old conference. We've had competitive teams that finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th a lot. The new conference is a bit of a challenge, and so we're trying to build it back up to do things like that. Like I said, with some of our recruiting tactics, we're trying to get some athletes in here that can really help us accomplish those things. I think 5 years down the line, there's no reason we can't do that. We have a fantastic outdoor facility. UAB is a great education, and so we're just trying to get the athletes in here that'll help us do it. I love my staff right now. All of my staff have accomplished things on big levels. Even my throws coach was a D3 All-American at Birmingham Southern, and he's still competing semi-professionally himself. So, we all want to be good. I think that's really helpful to have a staff that kind of shares that same vision. I think at the end of this year, we're looking for more growth. We have a lot of really young athletes. All of our throwers are true freshmen.
Wow.
That's wonderful for the future. They're also true freshmen for this year, and so there's going to be ups and downs. So we have a lot of really young athletes that are going to get a taste of the American Athletic Conference this year, and so we just want to see growth from last year to this year. We're on the right track for it, but then a few years down the line, we want everyone to want to accomplish some of those things of being kind of top half of the conference and being an all-conference athlete, which is very difficult to do, qualifying for the NCAA regional championships, which is very difficult to do. And we've had athletes my entire career that have done those things, is trying to get this team and these athletes to really buy into, you can do these things. Sometimes it takes being uncomfortable.
Travis, where do you see this? Where do you see cross-country in the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely made some good progress just in the 3 years I've been here. I mean, my first year we were dead last 14th, went from that to 9th, and then 9th to 6th. So we're now comfortably in the top half. Again, I'm not really satisfied until we get the championship. But I think long term, with kind of how the teams are set up, I definitely want to be top 5 every single year. When we kind of have a big year, I'm hoping that we're fighting for a podium spot. But really, I think, like you said, just we got to keep recruiting some good talent and keep building. But I think now we've kind of made that hump to where we're somewhat comfortably in the top half, and it's just continue to build that and fight for those podium spots.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm excited to see where this program goes in the next few years. And Coach, thank you so much for joining us. I want to do a little bit of a lightning round with you guys.
Okay.
So some quick questions. Going in Birmingham, what is your go-to spot to eat?
That's hard because there's so many.
We're known for our food
We
here in
are,
Birmingham.
yeah. Shoe Shop is pretty amazing downtown. Giuseppe's is outstanding Italian food. There's some of the famous fancier places, Gianmarco's and places like that are really, really good. There's also really outstanding like Mexican food that are holes in the wall that are really hard to find, but they're worth it. Mr. Chen's is great Chinese food down in Hoover. I don't know. I could go on and on.
He gets that way more than I do, so I don't have too many. My favorite place I think closed down. So.
What are you guys doing when you're not on the track?
Spend time with my family, chasing my kids' youth athletics practices and cross-country meets. And my son Knox is a cross-country and track runner at Hoover High School. My youngest son's at Simmons Middle School and plays every sport known to man. So I'm just chasing them around.
How's the dynamic with your kids now that they're in track and then you're a track coach? How's that dynamic?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they just enjoy it and they get to be with their friends a lot, which is good. There's zero pressure from me. I just want them to have fun and kind of learn. But, then we get in the car and I'm like, well, you could have done this a little bit better. So I think they take it okay. But they're just there having fun.
Yeah. Travis, where are we finding you if you're not on the track?
Mostly just chilling. I mean, I play a lot of golf and tennis.
Nice.
Hang out with some friends, but not doing too much. No kids, thankfully.
Not yet.
No.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us on the Inferno Podcast. I'm so excited to see where this track program goes, and excited to see you guys compete in Clemson.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Kurt and Travis, for joining us on the Inferno Podcast. Now, Blazers, don't go too far because we'll be right back with This Week in Blazer Nation.
The if in life. It's a world of possibilities. If you go for a night out with friends. If you can keep an eye on your money along the way. If you know you have overdraft protection with no fee transfers from savings. When you get a low balance alert, it's easier to say yes to fun. If that sounds good, try Regions Life Banking.
Stay ready for the if in life. Regions Bank embrace the if in life.
Welcome back to This Week in Blazer Nation, brought to you by Children's of Alabama. Starting our week off is going to be on Friday, the 30th through the 31st. UAB track is going to be at Clemson for the Bob Pollock Invite. Not far behind them, from the 30th to February 2nd, bowling is going to be at the Saints Invite taking place in Missouri. UAB women's tennis is going to be taking Arkansas State on Friday at 4 p.m. On Saturday, UAB Rifle is going to be at Tennessee Martin with women's basketball at Wichita State at 2 p.m. Men's tennis is going to take on Tulane at the Hoover Met, while men's basketball dominates versus North Texas at 7 p.m. Rifle is going to be at Georgia Southern on February 1st, and also on the 1st, UAB women's tennis is going to be taking on Belmont at 10 a.m. Thank you so much for watching the Inferno Podcast, and thank you so much for Kurt and Travis for joining us today. As always, stay tuned for our next episode coming out next week, and go Blazers!
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.